whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
See, I knew that was trouble. Sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. I have this cold in my head. I am on so much cold medicine. I can't believe that I was muted the whole entire time. Welcome to the show. We are live. I am unmuted. Thank you to everyone that's being here. See, if Kim's supposed to be here. Hopefully she'll be here in a minute or two. She would have told me that I was muted. I apologize for all of that, and we are live. It's just one of those days. It's just one of those days. Okay, but I was saying, I was calling out Kay. Where are you, Kay, again? I know, I'm muted. So Kay was like, I have to bug out for the Taylor Swift segment. Now, Kay, it's fine. It's totally fine. I know that there's not T-Swift fans out there. I know that I am a huge one, and so I often talk about these things. I called it. My daughter called it. So if you live under a rock and you don't know, of course, Taylor Swift has been named Time Person of the Year. Great photo of her right there. I feel like she's wearing the same outfit she wore to Beyonce's movie premiere, but I could be wrong. There's another picture of her. She was also named yesterday People's Most Intriguing Person of the Year. So this is her year. I mean, I'm telling you, this year, and then she's also touring next year, so I'm sure we're going to have a repeat. Look. She is wildly successful. I was actually reading before the show. I was reading the article on her in Time magazine. And I will say this, very nicely written article. And I just want to point out a couple things for all the haters out there. First off, the amount of effort. So we know that she's dating an NFL football player. We know that football players, they're in great shape. I'm just saying, there's one part of the article that says, Swift jokes she tours like a frat guy, but she has done that. But this time, she began training for this current tour 6 months ahead of the show. She runs on the treadmill, singing the entire set list out loud. Runs fast for fast songs and a jog or a fast walk for slow songs. So she's really trying to stay in shape for all of this. But more than this, if you don't like her music, which is totally fine, I totally get it. It's the economic impact. Swift's arrival in a city energizes the local economy. When the Eras Tour kicked off in Glendale, Arizona, she generated more revenue for its businesses than the 2023 Super Bowl, which was held in the same stadium. Obviously, fans flew across the country, staying in hotels, eating out, splurging on everything from sweatshirts to limited edition vinyl. The average Eras attendee reportedly spent $1,300. And, that's why she wanted to put on an extra long show. It's a really well-written article. I urge you guys to read it. I don't subscribe to Time, but I think it's free online. So I was reading it. Yeah, and I get it. She's all over the place, which is why I think that Time made the right choice, right? You couldn't go anywhere this year without talking about Taylor Swift. You just could not. She was everywhere. Good, bad, everything in between. Not only did she, boost the economies, she paid her people extremely well. There's kind of a whole history lesson in the article about how she's always kind of done that. And I don't know if you guys know this story, and I didn't know this until I read the Time magazine article. She was supposed to go on tour, her first tour with Kenny Chesney, I believe. And then it was sponsored by a beer company, and she couldn't go because she was underage. And so he gave her a check for more money than she at that point had ever seen in her life. And she paid the people, gave them bonuses that were supposed to get money because of the tour. So it's kind of this give and give back type of thing. I applaud. I absolutely applaud the fact that Time Magazine named her that. And yeah, I think that it's a good choice. And obviously I'm a huge Swiftie, so I think that it's awesome. Oh, thank you, Harry. Harry coming in. What happens when Taylor and Travis split? Her breakup album name will be called Holding. That's funny. Just because it's two high profile celebrities dating doesn't mean, they're going to get married, that they're going to last forever. Something that people may not know, though, you'll remember, and again, I know I hesitate spending too much time on this because I know that not all of you are Swifties, but I just have to. You'll have to indulge me for a second. So the first time we saw Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift together was at one of Travis's football games. And she says in the Time Magazine article, she's like, we first connected and started texting when he kind of shot a shot online on his podcast with his brother, saying that he had made Taylor Swift a friendship bracelet and he wasn't able to give it to her at the concert because she doesn't talk to people before the concert. And so they started texting. And she's like, they were already in a relationship by the time, and knew each other pretty well by the time she went to the football game. She's like, for people to think that the game was our first outing and date is insane. So, they've known each other for a while. So if it seems like that relationship accelerated extremely quickly, there was a whole beginning that we weren't, invited to. So, I think it's good news for her. It's good news for people. Yes. And thank you, you guys. Could I have woken up to any other better news than T Swift being named Time Person of the Year, which has no effect on me whatsoever? It, of course, is the fact that Kevin McCarthy has announced he is retiring. Kevin McCarthy says he is just departing from Congress after being ousted as House Speaker. I couldn't have happened to a worse person. He announced that Wednesday. He's going to depart from his congressional seat. Hold on. Let me play you a little bit of this. This is his Twitter announcement regarding the whole entire thing. I have not seen this. We're going to see this for the first time together. Because I think the first thing I saw, and I saw it right before, I heard it right before the show, was like, why? Why do we need Kevin McCarthy? Is this seat really going to be, oh my God, he has such big shoes to fill. I don't think so. All right. So here's his Twitter announcement of his retirement. No. Music. I love the music. Oh, give me a break. Oh, here we go. Weasel. Ugh.
All right, quiet on the set.
Kevin McCarthy, Congressman, Whip, Majority Leader, 55th Speaker, for a heartbeat.
17 years ago, I was elected to a seat in Congress that I couldn't get an internship for. Today, I sit here having served as your Whip, Leader, and as the 55th Speaker of the House. As the son of a firefighter from Bakersfield, my story is the story of America. For me, every moment came with a great deal of devotion and responsibility. Giving my best to all of you has been my greatest honor.
Look at him.
I'm proud of what we have accomplished. We won a House majority twice. We elected more Republican women, veterans, and minorities to Congress than ever before. We reduced the deficit by over $2 trillion while protecting the full faith and credit of our nation. We kept our government operating and our troops paid while wars broke out around the world. Traveling the country and serving with all of you, I have encountered far more people that want to build something than those who want to tear it down. I have faith in this country because America is more than a country. America is an idea. Today, I am driven by the same purpose that I felt when I arrived in Congress. But now, it is time to pursue my passion in a new arena.
What is this
While
passion?
I'll be departing the House at the end of this year,
oh, thank God.
I will never, ever give up fighting for this country that I love so much.
Nothing.
To all those who have supported me through the years, especially our constituents, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We did our part. And when the stakes were the highest, we rose to the challenge. We were willing to risk it all, no matter the odds, no matter the personal cost. Simply put, we did the right thing. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Oh, thank God you're gone. Thank God you're gone. Kevin McCarthy sucks. He sucks. He's the only, I love the things that he laundry lists. He's the only speaker in history to be voted out of the job. So again, Baker, I love that comment though. Poor Bakersfield. Kevin writes, now he'll be home all the time. Right. Now I get what you're saying, Randy. So what? McCarthy's gone, but won't another Republican win that seat in Bakersfield? True, but I think that I will give it to Kevin McCarthy. I mean, he was quite powerful. He had a lot, being the whip and then being the heartbeat time of a speaker. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine Bakersfield. I don't know much about it. I really do think that they could do better. Somebody that can bring more to their area. No, of course he's a congressman. He's a U.S. congressman, right? He's not a county supervisor or something like that. Lady Beatrice says, and thank you so much, lady, for the $5 donation to the super chat. McCarthy getting out is awesome news because he was not anyone we can trust. Kevin is so fake. That video is just a pity party. Because here's the thing. Not only was he the only one ever voted out of being speaker, but now he's retiring. I mean, they obviously don't want to work with this guy. I mean, his colleagues obviously don't want to work with him. So I don't see this whole, I'll be interested. Of course, he just announced it today. I will be very interested to hear if anybody comes forward and says, oh my God, we are losing, a giant in Washington, somebody that has, trailblazed for his constituents, all the kind of, accolades that people often get when they've spent, what he said, 17 years in Congress. I just feel like he just sucks. And you guys know how I feel. I cannot stand the guy. Kevin's like, maybe he and Santos can go into business together. That would be hilarious. Yeah. I mean, maybe he's like, you know what? Okay, here's my thing. I'm going to say this right now because it just popped into my head. I will allow this. If for my birthday or Christmas or whatever, anyone wants to, if he goes on Cameo, I would love to have a cameo, but he has to say how much he sucks in the cameo, right? I'm going to make him say, because that's what you tell them, well, that's, I'm sorry that I sucked so bad, Nikki. I hope you can forgive me. I won't. Your weasel in Washington and now Bakersfield, Kevin McCarthy. I just can't stand the guy, but that'd be funny if he was doing cameos. I think I would actually want one if he had to say something like that. That would be so funny. Vilma, is McCarthy leaving Congress to join the George Santos campaign? What campaign? He's just leaving. George Santos is going to be on Cameo and he's trying to, take other people down with him. Katie says, is he leaving or is he just not running for re-election? He's retiring. That's what he says. He says that he is retiring at the end of the year. So, let's see. I'm trying to read this article really quickly that has it. McCarthy, the son of a firefighter and a homemaker, has long depicted himself as an unflagging battler. He is fond of quoting his father, who told him, "It's not how you start, it's how you finish." Yeah, well, great finish, Kevin. Yeah, it doesn't say what his next plans are at all. Yeah, he's just awful. He's just awful. And I'm really glad that he's not there anymore. He arrived in the House in 2007 after being part of the California Assembly, where he served as minority leader. So he has had a bit of power. In Congress, he moved his way through the party's hierarchy, serving as majority whip and then the Republican leader before being elected speaker in January 2023. And then he lost it very quickly thereafter. So Kevin McCarthy is out by the end of the year. I don't know what is next. I don't know if he's I don't know if he's gonna, stay in politics. Good luck, Bakersfield. I don't know how people feel about that in Bakersfield. If you live in Bakersfield, if you like Kevin McCarthy, tell me why. Like, why do you like Kevin McCarthy? What has he done for you lately? Because I think that he's ineffectual at the very least. Yeah, everyone needs a reason to celebrate. Absolutely. He's giving his 3 weeks notice. Yep. Maud says, how can a person believe him? He lies as he breathes. Exactly. I think this is the thing that really did it for me. Besides the fact that, he couldn't, and I do believe that the presidency of former President Trump exposed the moral code the ability to stand for the Constitution, for the rule of law, for understanding, what it means to be president of the United States, having a sort of, bar that Trump was just so below. But because he had because he claimed to be a Republican, McCarthy was like he could do no wrong. But then after January 6th, when it was happening, for a brief moment, Kevin McCarthy had a sliver of integrity. Sliver. He called out Trump. And then what did he do? And Liz Cheney says it in her book. He went to Mar-a-Lago to coddle Trump. And it was just in that moment, the fact that he was going over there, the fact that he's still supporting former President Trump, despite what happened on January 6th, despite the election nonsense that Trump keeps trying to sell people, Kevin McCarthy continues to act like he is righteous. And and he has no integrity whatsoever. He's shameful. He should be ashamed of himself. And I'm so glad that he's leaving Washington. I'm so very glad. Now, some people have said, even if you don't like McCarthy, even if you're not a Republican, the fact that there was somebody that was so high up in Washington from California brought attention to California. Now, we're obviously an extremely blue state. And so, I don't know how much influence Kevin could have had anyway on things like that. But he wasn't effectual. Like, he didn't do anything good. He didn't work across the aisle. All he was this weasel that spread conspiracies and lies for former President Trump. And that's going to be his legacy, in my opinion. Because what else is there? I mean, think about it. Really think. What has Kevin McCarthy truly done to benefit California? Honestly. He gave his laundry list there in that Twitter announcement of his retirement. And it was total BS. You held Congress hostage every single time we're on the precipice of a government shutdown. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, when our democracy was at stake on January 6th, when it was so obvious and still is that it was the work and the result of what former President Trump said, you go to Mar-a-Lago to comfort him. Comfort your nation. Comfort your constituents. Call out Trump for what he did wrong, for what he said wrong, for that nonsense. You're all good people, go home BS line that he gave on January 6th. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. Good morning, my friend.
Well, good morning to you. How's it going?
No, it's going. We're celebrating the fact that Kevin McCarthy has announced his retirement. So
I'm not sad, I have to say. Not sad about that.
I mean, I don't think anybody that really watches this show is that sad about it.
No.
Again,
go.
He's got to, and he's going. At the end of the year, I'm extremely happy that somebody that really hasn't done much, in my opinion, is going to be leaving. But we have to look forward now. I mean, who's going to replace him? How's that going to work? Who really wants the job, right? I'm assuming, the Bakersfield Central Valley is a red area. So it's probably going to be obviously another Republican, perhaps. I always wonder about that, though. As people search for cheaper housing, if the Central Valley will start not going blue, of course, but just start turning
Purple
a little
up
bit
a
more
little bit.
purple. Exactly. And who is going to throw their hat in the ring and convince these people that, look, if you want real progress, if you want, things to happen for your area. I don't know what Kevin McCarthy has done for Bakersfield. I really, truly don't. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch and see if that happens. But bye, Kevin.
Don't you think once you're the leader, you're the House Speaker, and then you're turned down, they say, we don't want you in this role anymore, you kind of have nowhere to go. Right? I mean, you could sink back down into your
top. Where else are you going to go but down? You can be
I just
mayor.
feel like he had really no choice to go. Now, Nancy Pelosi's still a member of Congress, right? I mean, she's still
Well, she's retiring. She's emeritus, right? Or something like that.
She's Speaker Emerita, but I don't think she's retiring. She's not retiring as a member.
I thought she was going to come back to San Mateo and she was going to be running for something in the Bay Area.
So that's Spear, but Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi.
I'm mixing them up.
Yeah,
sorry.
no, it's easy to do, but she's going to run again because she thinks the party needs her.
Oh, I don't think I missed that news. Did she?
Yeah, even though she feels like there's new leadership now, right? With Hakeem Jeffries, she's still going to run again. So I don't know. I just feel like once you've been in that role, do you want to go back down to just being,
right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I completely missed the announcement that she was running again. I don't know how I missed that. Maybe we talked about it, and I am mixing up her and Spear, which I shouldn't be doing. But she's 83 years old, Nancy Pelosi. I do think that while now you want to talk about an effectual leader, Nancy Pelosi is an effectual leader. I think that she has proven herself to be effectual. Do I think that she needs to be House Speaker again? I don't. I think this is all coming back to me about my opinion about it. Yeah. I think that she should be, bringing up the next generation, in all honesty. So not saying that she's not qualified, not saying that she won't still be effectual, not saying that she doesn't have a lot of fight in her, but I think that it is time. And I think that this country is really getting tired, I will say this, of not preparing the next generation for really big jobs, right? Like, we need to have Nancy Pelosi still be able to work and train the next generation. And I think the only way you do that is by endorsing somebody else to take your place, not thinking that you're the only one that can do the job. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't mean to be insulting to her because, again, I do think that she's done an amazing job, politics aside, because I know some people hate Nancy Pelosi, but that's politically. She is an effective speaker. She knows how to get the votes. She doesn't humiliate herself by bringing something to a vote and not having the votes. No. Nancy Pelosi doesn't do that, right? She would much rather say, we're not taking the vote right now. But at the same time, we have this kind of moment where we have really older politicians that have a lot of experience, and there doesn't seem to be this passing of the torch while they're still there. You know what I mean? Like, you're there. If you want to stay in Washington, guide, teach. It doesn't have to be you. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm so stoked about Kevin McCarthy. It was the best news waking up to this morning. In addition, of course, T Swift being Times Person of the Year. But it was very, very nice to see that I won't have to talk about Kevin McCarthy after the end of the year. So that'll be awesome. Okay. Are you ready with headlines, or do you need a little time?
I'm ready, Freddie.
Okay, you're ready. Okay. When we come back, though, I do want to talk about freedom of speech. And I really want to stay focused on freedom of speech because I think, especially right now with the war between Israel and Hamas and the protests over the treatment of the Palestinian people, how far does free speech go in this country? I mean, is it just all the way? There are no consequences for saying certain things. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is we seem to be hitting this crux. So the Capitol tree lighting that's supposed to be happening tonight in Sacramento is going to go virtual because of planned protests. I don't know, and I'm going to play you a little bit of it. Now, I hate Congresswoman Stefanik. She bothers the crap out of me. But I'm going to play you an exchange between her and the president of Harvard. And it's hard to watch because on one hand, I understand the idea of freedom of speech. And, you can say what you want. You can stand on a street corner. You can do those sorts of things. You can speak out about things. But until it becomes action, that kind of speech is protected. But on a college campus and the words that people are saying is enough. I want you guys to tell me, because for me, honestly, it's hard for me to know exactly what's right or what's wrong. And then, House Speaker Johnson coming out, I think yesterday, saying he wants to blur some of the faces of of people that attended January 6th. It's like, well, wait a minute. They're exercising the right to protest. What are you protecting? What are you protecting? So that's going to be coming up. Click the thumbs up button, you guys. Show your support. There's almost 200 of you watching right now, many more obviously in replay. So whether you're watching it right now live or in replay, make sure you click that thumbs up button. Our super chat is live. And again, thank you to Harry, who started us off with $5.
Harry.
And Lady Beatrice came in with $5 as well.
That's so
thank
nice.
you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. We do depend on that. And we're heading towards the end of the year. If you guys are just kind of going over your expenses, please consider signing up for our monthly Patreon. It's one time a month, whatever you can afford, and we depend on it because we are 100% crowdfunded. So just go to theNikkiMedoroShow.com, theNikkiMedoroShow.com, and click the Patreon link right there. PayPal, the email is theNikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. All of these links can be found in the show notes, including our merch site and the list of my favorite things. So if you could support our show in many different ways, please do. All right, let's do some headlines, and then we will talk about freedom of speech next.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Let's start with what Nikki has already mentioned this morning. It's true. Former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, says he will resign from Congress at year's end. This comes after McCarthy was the first Speaker of the House to be ousted from power in the middle of their congressional term. He was ousted by a small majority of conservative Republicans. In an op-ed with the Wall Street Journal, McCarthy said he's decided to leave the House to serve America in new ways. What does that mean? President Biden's approval rating is stuck near record lows. This isn't good heading into an election, is it? According to a Reuters Ipsos poll, it's been lingering at about 40%. That compared to 39% in November. Americans said the economy, crime, and immigration are the biggest problems they face in this new poll. So, 4 Russian soldiers are being charged with war crimes against an American living in Ukraine during Russia's invasion of the country. Attorney General Merrick Garland announcing the charges Wednesday, saying that charges include conspiracy to commit war crimes and torture. Garland said the American victim was abducted from their home by 3 of those charged and was stripped naked and beaten as well. Awful. Americans expect to spend at least $100 more on holiday shopping this year than last year. A Gallup survey found Americans say they'll probably spend an average of $975 on gifts this season.
Wow.
It's the highest holiday shopping estimate since Gallup began tracking this
But
in
inflation,
1999.
Tim, what do you mean inflation? How are we spending more on Christmas, right, according to this?
You're spending more on less.
Oh, is that what they're saying?
Mm.
It could be. You just have to be smart. I think that you have to. Do you set a list? Do you have a list, or do you just kind of go out when you go Christmas shopping and just see what appeals to you?
Both. So I have a list of people,
Okay.
but I don't know exactly what I'm going to buy the people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have to list it out because I need to know. I have to budget. If I'm not, I'll just end up just swiping my card. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, crap, I spent way too much money. So I have an idea of things I want to spend on. I have a gift idea for my husband and I know about how much that's going to cost. And then with the kids, they gave me their Christmas list and I just basically look on it and I go, okay, so this kind of satisfies something that they want to wear or something for their room. And then I kind of judge it and they got to keep rein in the spending a bit because it can be so easy to overspend. And we only do kids. I'm not doing adults anymore. We're going to do a white elephant thing when we're all together.
My family, we draw names. Do you draw names?
Well, we did do that one year, but I like the white elephant better. I think it's just more of fun of a game,
Yeah.
So that's how we do it.
SAG-AFTRA, we have a decision. SAG-AFTRA members have voted to ratify the contract. The move means that the longest labor battle in Hollywood history is now officially over, following a 118-day long strike that was suspended after a tentative agreement was reached in early November. It was approved with 78% voting in favor, with a turnout of 38%. Only 38% voted.
Wow.
If it were to have been voted down, the strike would have likely continued. So,
I think that there's a lot of people. This one actor that I follow, he was really against the contract. He didn't think that the protections were strong enough. But the truth of the matter is, I think everybody was really waiting for this actor strike to end. It's not perfect, but you have to start from somewhere. And so I really hope that they, especially with the AI and things like that, they really have to stay up on it. You just can't think that this is it and you're not going to have to tweak it in the future.
Well, it was Justine Bateman who said, if you like your job, don't vote for this contract.
Yeah.
She didn't think it did enough to protect people from AI, from giving their image and getting nothing in the future in return.
It's true.
Okay, you know that massive freeway fire in Southern California?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, changes are coming after that. Crews have been inspecting sites across the state now to see what's underneath the overpasses. Thank goodness somebody's thinking.
Exactly. What an idea.
What's sitting underneath there? Caltrans has more than 600 spaces they lease for things like parking lots, cell phone towers, and storage. One of those areas went up in flames just last month. So the damage was so severe, it shut down Interstate 10 in Los Angeles for almost 2 weeks. They opened it a lot sooner than they thought they were going to be able to. But yeah, now they're going across the state, looking, taking a peek, saying, what else you got? What else have you rented out? What else are you?
Yeah. It's like we can't. Like, I feel like a lot of people after this major fire was happened, they're like, "Why was this allowed to be under there?" And so there's going to be a lot of questions moving forward about what are we allowing under there, because things like this can happen, especially with the homeless encampments and things like that, where it just takes a spark and the whole thing goes up.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, you have to think about it. And now that we know that see all those pallets stacked under there, like kindling,
Yes,
now that we know that was there, I mean, we kind of have to go around and look.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they didn't just kind of shrug their shoulders and walk away from it. High-speed bullet train. I don't know if you're in favor of this or not, but here we go with more money for the high-speed bullet train across California is what we're doing with this. Yeah, it's $6 billion boost to build the high-speed rail. Half of it will go to construction in the Central Valley, where the first phase of the track will connect Bakersfield to Merced in 2030. The second phase will eventually stretch from San Diego to Sacramento. The rest of the money is for a bullet train between the Los Angeles area and Las Vegas. The goal is to break ground next year and have service running as early as 2027.
I would not hold my breath for this project to ever reach fruition. Like, no, I'm not. I think that it's been a boondoggle from the get-go. The price is way too high. We're having a hard time for people to take public transit as it is. I don't know. But it's going to happen. The train is on the tracks figuratively. I don't know if it's ever going to happen literally, but we'll see. I mean,
does it not seem like we just keep throwing money and money and money at this, and then we never really see much? And then there's always that, oh, by the way, everybody, it's going to cost a lot more than we thought it was going to cost.
And they keep saying it over and over and over again. And the whole train to nowhere. If there was anything I agreed with conservatives on, was that the high-speed rail project should be nixed. I mean, think about what we could do for the public transportation systems that are already exist, right? Now, I understand the dream of it all, but I just don't think for the price and how long it's been taking that it's that we need it. But, you know, obviously there are a lot of powerful people that are going to keep this project going, whether we like it or not.
SoFi Stadium, best place in the world to see a concert. SoFi Stadium takes the top spot on the Billboard Magazine 2023 Year in Touring, ranking as the #1 stadium in the world for concert tours.
Interesting. I've never been there. Have you ever gone to a concert there? No, I haven't.
No.
I mean, it's new, but yeah.
You know me. I mean, it's, you know.
That's true.
The venue also topped the charts for gross ticket sales and attendance with a record-breaking 19 concerts and more than 1 million fans. SoFi Stadium opened in September of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. Rounding out the top 3, Mexico City's Foro Sol and New Jersey's MetLife Stadium.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I understand seeing major concerts in big, venues like this one. But after a certain amount of time, it's so big that, I don't know, you're so far away from the act, I mean, give me, what's the one in Berkeley?
Greek theater.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
give me a venue like that. Even Shoreline, even though I feel like Shoreline has volume issues with their concerts. But something a little more intimate, because once it gets to this gigantic size, yes, the display is huge, but you're so far away, you're just watching it on a screen anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Although, I don't know, something about not even being inside the concert venue, just being outside and seeing the excitement
Yeah.
of all those people walking into that Taylor Swift show, it was pretty infectious. So I guess when you get that many people together, all kind of, you know, for a common goal and a common reason and united
Yeah,
in
it's
their love of
fun.
an artist, it can be, yeah, it can be
It
nice.
could be an event and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, lastly, I have to show you the most adorable picture.
Okay.
There's a new baby rhino in the world,
Aww.
and he is so cute. Rhino, here he is. You can see him right underneath his mom's legs here as he starts taking his first steps.
Look at the little rhino.
Little baby rhino is so cute. This rhino was just born at the Oregon Zoo Monday night. 11-year-old Eastern black rhino Josie gave birth to a baby. Zoo staff says the first-time mom and her new arrival are both doing well. They are behind the scenes in a maternity den. Josie and her baby will be out of view while they bond. Black rhinos are critically endangered species, so it's kind of a big deal to have one in captivity.
Nice.
So,
That is cool.
yeah.
Oh, welcome to the world, baby
Welcome
rhino.
to the world, baby rhino. And I'll bet they'll probably do a naming contest because at this point they're just calling him the baby rhino. Little baby rhino.
What will we name him? Maybe Ed. I don't know.
Ed, huh?
Ed
Yeah.
or Ricky the Rhino or something. I don't know. Maybe a little alliteration there. We'll see.
They usually do something with like the culture where like some type of native language where the rhino came from.
Oh, that's
So
true.
we'll see. I don't know.
I guess Ed won't make it.
I think Ed's off the list. Sorry, Nikki. That's it. Ed. Let's name him Ed. Ed, get over here. This report sponsored by you. Our thanks to you for always supporting the show. You guys are awesome. Find us at theNikkiMedoroShow.com. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. It's where the Patreon link lives. It's where the PayPal link lives. And it's where you can really help us out. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is where the super chat is live and where I'm on the Nikki Medoro Show. I'll get it. I know it.
She got it.
Where am I? What am I doing?
You're good. You're good. You're good. Okay. So, look, I hesitated on even talking about this because, I've been really, and it's not as if I just want to preface this by saying it's not as if I'm not really following it extremely closely.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when we talk about the war in Israel and with Hamas, it's so difficult because there's so many emotions and there's so much death and destruction. So I just want to preface this by saying I don't want to talk about necessarily how you feel, even though you can share it. Obviously, you could share how you feel about the conflict and what's going on. What I want to talk about is how people express themselves regarding very divisive issues. And I want to talk both about the war in the Middle East and something like January 6th. Okay. So yesterday it was announced that the Capitol tree lighting ceremony in Sacramento was not going to be held because there were some, what they're described as pro-Palestinian protests planned at the tree lighting ceremony. So it's going to be happening tonight at 6:00. It's going to be virtual. You can watch it on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, blah, 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 like on the governor's website or what have you. And, they put out this statement and it's just basically saying, it's going to be pre-recorded. Planned protests mean that it's not going to happen. Now, on one hand, people are like, well, we shouldn't, change events, especially ones that have to do with the holiday season or Christmas or what have you, simply because people are exercising their right to protest. Like protest, and I used to work in Sacramento. There's protests every day at the Capitol. I mean, I know that there's something different about these particular protests, but there are. People are protesting, they got to get a permit. They're doing all of those sorts of things, even though the CHP and security were telling people, like, they put up signs on Monday that said, keep out, no trespassing, and warned that the area was under 24-hour surveillance and people would be arrested. By Tuesday evening, They said, nope, we're going to pull it. We're not going to do the tree lighting, and it's going to go virtual. First off, how do you guys feel about something like that? I mean, I don't think that tree lighting ceremonies are the end all be all of, oh my God, how do we not let this happen type of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what does it say that the government, just say the government, Governor Newsom made the call, right? Is canceling events simply because the people want to exercise their constitutional right to gather and to protest. Does it set a bad precedent? I don't feel like necessarily it should have been. I don't think it should have been moved virtually, but I think that, and maybe I just don't understand, and maybe there's more information that security had. Like, can't we just allow a space for people to exercise their right to protest? And yes, if you're standing around the tree, you may hear these chantings and these yellings, but that's living in America. Like, it doesn't matter the time of year. It doesn't matter the event. People have a right to protest. Or am I missing something here? I mean, are we worried that something dangerous is going to happen, that there's going to be too many clashes or something like that? Now, again, I don't know the type of warnings that we were coming. You will remember there was a large pro-Palestinian protest in New York City at their Rockefeller Center tree lighting ceremony. Demonstrators also disrupted tree lighting ceremonies in other cities, including Boston and Michigan.
Yeah.
How do you feel about them canceling the one I'm not canceling, but moving it to be all virtual? I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. I was like, well, if we believe in freedom of speech, if we believe in the right to protest, then why would we just not let people exercise that right while also celebrating the holidays?
They say it's a safety issue.
But anything can be a safety. I mean, honestly, anything could be a safety issue. Any protest could be. Randy says it seems to set a bad precedent. Burgundy Cat says people have the right to protest. Ricky says, why take the risk? What's at risk? Our right to protest?
Public safety, but also, yes, the right to protest. I mean, they can still go out and protest, even though, no one else will be there,
right,
except the protesters and the CHP. I don't know.
Debbie says, unless there's some credible threat, and maybe there was. We talk about it, like if somebody calls in a bomb threat at your kid's school, do you keep your kid home from school that day just out of the abundance of caution? Many say yes, right? I'm not going to go. I don't want to deal with it. And I think when we think about our constitutional rights to protest, to speech, is there a line that just shouldn't be crossed, where there should be a consequence for that? We talk about it a lot, especially with former President Trump, with Twitter/X, what people can say, the rules surrounding it. When you're a private business, you're allowed to set your own rules. The freedom of speech really is just speech against the government, right? I'm going to play you this clip, and I don't know how much I'm going to play, but I'm going to play a bit of it for you. Now, this is between Claudine Gay, who is Harvard's president, and Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Okay. Now, I don't like Stefanik. I think that, she again is a big old Trumper, like whatever. She's a Republican. She's very upset in this exchange. And I understand what she's trying to get the president to say. And I'm going to play it for you. And I want you to tell me if the Harvard president, and this has also been asked of the president of MIT and other universities, if she's wrong, if there should be some consequence for these specific words being said on campus. And if you do, what should that consequence be? What should it be? Okay, so here is, again, this is Congresswoman Stefanik grilling Harvard's president, Claudine Gay.
Ms. Stefanik, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Dr. Gay, a Harvard student calling for the mass murder of African Americans is not protected free speech at Harvard, correct?
Our commitment to free speech.
It's a yes or no question. Is that corrected? Is that okay for students to call for the mass murder of African Americans at Harvard? Is that protected free speech?
Our commitment to free speech.
It's a yes or no question. Let me ask you this. You are president of Harvard, so I assume you're familiar with the term intifada, correct?
I've heard that term, yes.
And you understand that the use of the term intifada in the context of the Israeli-Arab conflict is indeed a call for violent armed resistance against the state of Israel, including violence against civilians and the genocide of Jews. Are you aware of that?
That type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
And there have been multiple marches at Harvard with students chanting, quote, "There is only one solution, intifada revolution," and, quote, "globalize the intifada." Is that correct?
I've heard that thoughtless, reckless, and hateful language on our campus. Yes.
So based upon your testimony, you understand that this call for intifada is to commit genocide against the Jewish people in Israel and globally, correct?
I will say again, that type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Do you believe that type of hateful speech is contrary to Harvard's code of conduct, or is it allowed at Harvard?
It is at odds with the values of Harvard.
Can you
But
not
our
say here that it is
values
against the
also-
code of conduct at Harvard?
We embrace a commitment to free expression, even of views that are objectionable, offensive, hateful. It's when that speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies against bullying, harassment,
Does that speech not cross that barrier? Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
When that
You
speech-
testify that you understand that is the definition of intifada. Is that speech according to the code of conduct or not?
Let her talk.
We embrace a commitment to free expression and give a wide
This is the
berth to
crux.
free expression, even of views that are objectionable.
You and I
outrageous,
both know
and
that's not the
offensive.
case. You are aware that Harvard ranked dead last when it came to free speech. Are you not aware of that report?
Yeah, I don't
As
know where this
observed
report comes
earlier,
from, though. This is what I didn't like.
reject that characterization.
It's the
of our
data shows
campus.
it's true. And isn't it true that Harvard previously rescinded multiple offers of admissions for applicants and accepted freshmen for sharing offensive memes, racist?
All right, so then it goes on again for like 5 minutes. So here's my question. Even though I don't, again, agree with Stefanik on pretty much anything. Is there not a line, President Gay of Harvard, where if you're walking down, and I don't know how these chants were given again or anything like that, but if you're walking down Harvard's campus calling for the elimination of any group of people, is that not a line that we should be not okay with? I'm really torn on this because I don't, and again, I sat with this last night when I was prepping the show. And it's like, how far down this road do we go? Not every country in this world has the same protections that the United States has. This whole idea of freedom of speech is very unique to the United States. The protections that we have in this country to say what we want to say, no matter how offensive. But we're talking about a campus, a college campus. We're not talking about you standing outside your own house or on the street corner. We're talking about, organized possibly protests or rallies where people are saying and calling for the elimination of a group of people. What do we do with that? What should Harvard do with that? And then how do you keep the reins on that control?
So hate speech is, there's some illegality to hate speech, right?
Well, I think that if you're committing a crime against somebody, this is how I understand it. If you are committing a crime and then in the while committing that crime, you start using hate speech, right? I know under law enforcement, that's what rises to the level of the added charges for hate speech.
But if one were a member of an awful organization like, say, the Ku Klux Klan,
okay,
they could still don their outfit and march down any city street in America chanting, horrible things about people of other races. And because we have protected free speech, they can think that. They just can't hurt other people.
Right.
Even though one could say those words are hurtful, no matter, if they're directed at someone or if they're just being chanted in a march or rally. But that's America. We have that free speech. We have that right to say those things.
So then Gay is right in saying the president of Harvard, is right in saying
Yeah.
that, yes, these people can call for the elimination of Israel with no consequence.
In my mind, yes. And the opposite is true. Because you can think what you want in this country and you can say what you want in this country. Now, that doesn't mean, as we've talked about before, that freedom of speech is freedom from consequence. So
good point.
Your picture may be taken and you may not be hired after graduation because
Right.
you protested at Harvard, because your words hurt people or were controversial. And so then you're blackballed from employment or, being selected for whatever it is. So there may be consequences to what you say, and you think about that. And if it's important enough for you to go say it, then so be it. But that's what makes America, America.
Yeah, and so Ricky makes this point. If you promote violence and violence occurs, you're guilty of a crime, yes? Instigating, right? And that's why I was also wanting to bring January 6th into this. This is what is the crux of a lot of the blame for January 6th on former President Trump. The words that he used incited people to take criminal action.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. So then what do, organizations, what do college presidents do to make sure that the language doesn't lead to action? And I think that's why I was conflicted on this. I think that's what President Gay was trying to get across to Congresswoman Stefanik. It's like, look, we personally find it abhorrent. We personally feel like this goes against what we want our students at Harvard to behave and to say, but it has not led to anything beyond exercising their constitutional right of free speech. And that's hard to swallow. It really, really is. And I'm just going to be honest here, you would hope that people, one, wouldn't make such blanket statements about innocent lives, whether you're Palestinian, whether you're an Israeli. You wish that there would be some nuance, right? Instead of just marching down the street calling for the elimination of innocent lives.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, that's what seems to be happening in some instances. Lori says, yes, Skokie, Illinois, the KKK march. However, Harvard is a private property, so they can regulate differently than a municipality. Harvard has to live with the consequences of what they do. Absolutely. There was a Twitter, Bill Ackman, you'll know the name. He's with Pershing Square. He had come out and was like, what is going on some of these universities that they donate, these rich people donate to? And a lot of people are saying it's because you blindly give, and a lot of people are giving consequences to Harvard and MIT. They're saying, I'm not going to be donating to your endowment anymore.
Yep.
Because you're not speaking harshly out enough about this rhetoric that's happening on your campus. We'll see what that means, monetarily for some of these colleges. I just don't know how you give a consequence to a group of people, and then the very next day something else will come out, and it's not that bad. It's you have to have rules that apply to everyone in every instance, even whether it's a city or a college, because then people are going to be like, well, you let those people, but not those people. You're being biased in your beliefs and those sorts of things. And so it is actually the correct answer to be like, look, we have this trigger point. Once it starts, you're making a direct threat to a specific person. You're not just going down there like, death to fill in the blank, right? You're actually targeting those students over there. You're calling for an actual action. Until that trigger point is clicked, I feel like the university's hands are tied. Randy says, I don't know. Ask any Jewish student at Harvard if they feel safe these days. Ask any Jewish person, period, right now.
Right.
You feel safe these days. And yeah, see, a lot of you, Hanukkah starts, is it tonight that it starts? Or is it tomorrow?
Let me look it up.
Yeah, look it up for me. I feel like it's I have a December 7th in my mind, but I could be wrong.
No, I have that too.
But yeah, it's just, it's sad. My heart goes out to, God, just to everybody right now, in all honesty. Now, Mike Johnson, House Speaker Mike Johnson, on the January 6th side, is saying he wants to blur the complete surveillance footage from the January 6th attack in order to protect participants from being charged by law enforcement?
It's Friday, December 8th.
Oh, Friday the 8th. I don't know why I had 7th on my mind. Okay, so 8th. So yeah, Hanukkah starts on the 8th. And again, I'm saying my prayers honestly for the Jewish community, because this has to be such a hard time right now.
And for the people that, I mean, we know that the offensive in Gaza is widening.
Exactly.
You know?
And they have nowhere to go.
No, and
These
being
people
called
have nowhere to
apocalyptic.
go. It is.
So your heart breaks on, for all the people involved in this, honestly. And it's bad to say that, because, then someone who says that this is a genocide of people of Palestinian descent say, well, how can you feel bad for the Israelis? And then the Israelis say, well, how can you feel bad for the people that want us dead? And so, it's hard to say you feel bad for everyone involved, because then it seems like, you're somehow taking a side when it's a rough one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, and that's again why I don't speak as an expert, because I'm not. And I think that, and that doesn't mean that I'm ignoring it, because I don't think that you could be a human being and not see the images, the news reports, and everything. I just want, honestly, and I know it sounds so childlike, I just want it to stop. I know that's a very simplistic and naive thing to say, but I just want it to stop. I feel like there's so many more innocent lives that are being lost over this conflict. And, and then all these resolutions, I know that the San Francisco Board of Supervisors was debating a resolution to call for a ceasefire. And a lot of people's reaction to that is, and then what's that going to do? I think it's just going on the record more than anything else, right? It's going on the record and calling for a permanent ceasefire. Hanukkah starts
the night before.
Night, and then
I looked up what's the first day of Hanukkah, and it said but they started the night before. Yeah.
So that's why the 7th.
My bad.
Yeah, it's but yeah, it's one of these instances where, and I don't want to, I'm not Jewish. It doesn't mean that I don't care, right? But I want to hear from people that are we're all directly impacted. But when you have family over there, who am I? Who am I to throw in my opinion about what should happen? So I give my prayers, and I do pray for a ceasefire. I do. Do I want Hamas to be, taken care of? Absolutely. But do I also understand there's a hell of a lot more innocent Palestinian lives in there? Absolutely. Do I believe that, Israel is being targeted as well? Absolutely. But again, when those feelings and emotions spill out onto college campuses, and emotions run high, and honestly, terrible things are said, I don't know. There has to be a line drawn somewhere. Really, really do. Hula's like, she'll be lighting her candle tomorrow evening. Yeah, and it has to be such an emotional time, an emotional Hanukkah, and the prayers and the tables. We talk about this, and I know that Christmas, a big holiday as well. And Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, and there's so many holidays right now. And there's always that statement of, who's not at the table, right? Who are we missing at the table? And I think that's just going to be so true this year. Vilma says the war is horrific on both sides. There will be no winners. I agree. Absolutely agree. Oh, thank you, Doug, for the $5 super sticker. I thank you guys for kind of bearing with me as I stumble through this topic. I don't want to avoid it, but it's hard to talk about. It really is hard to talk about. I see people posting things, and what's interesting, Kim? And I don't know if this is like amongst your friend group, whether it's real life or social media or whatever, but I have Jewish friends. Even their own posts are conflicting. You know what I mean? Like it's so hard right now, really, to be anything but just devastated about the whole situation. And so, again, the interaction between college presidents not being louder in condemning, basically, to put it bluntly, hate speech against a group of people, a broad brush hate speech against a group of people. It's complicated and it's sad. And yeah, I'm going to go on record and also say, I don't think that people that went to January 6th should have their face blurred by House Speaker Mike Johnson. Now, I understand that everybody has the tapes. We've seen the tapes. They were on national television. If you were there and you don't think you did anything wrong, then why the hell should your face be blurred, right? It's quite rich for people that decided to go to January 6th and were proud of it, being like, I need to be protected because I don't want the consequences of my actions. Free speech.
In the same vein, where I don't think people's faces should be blurred that protest for, for or against this war or for one side or another.
If you're going to go to a protest, you lost your ability,
that's exactly right.
Privacy, right? I mean,
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. You're putting your face out there in public as a public record of saying that you disagree or you agree with something or whatever it is. And so if that's the case, no, you shouldn't be blurred. And again, you're trying to blur people so that you're shielding them from consequence. Right. Well, no, that doesn't work. You can't have free speech and then you can't have a conviction of conscience enough to go out into the world and spread your opinion and take a stand and say something. Right. And then on the back end go, oh no, blur my face. Either you stand up and you show yourself
if you don't want your
and
face
you say,
to show.
exactly,
Jeez.
Either you have that personal conviction that you want to go forward and put yourself on record or you don't. And that's the consequence is, if you're saying something unpopular, you might, but is it important enough to you to do that?
Yeah, exactly. Debbie's like, if you're going to be publicly protesting, then you shouldn't hide. Sorry. No KKK hoods. And it's so true. Nowadays, though, with the masks and COVID and everything, you can cover your face very easily. I
remember, I think I brought this protest up the other day, that 1% protest.
Yes.
Remember, they were camping outside of Frank-Ogawa Plaza at Oakland City Hall and other places across the country. And so we would all be sent out to cover these protests. And the people there for the first time would say, I don't consent to you taking my picture.
Too friggin' bad.
Well, you're in a public place.
Yep.
You don't have, I mean, is it polite to ask before you take someone's picture? Maybe.
I mean, no. I mean, if you're in the law states, if you're in public,
right. It's a public protest.
No protection of privacy. You just don't. That's the whole paparazzi thing, right? With celebrities and things like that. Now, I'm not saying it's right. I hear what you're saying about is it polite? Should you ask? And those sorts of things.
Right.
But to be like, I don't consent to my picture. Okay, thank you for expressing your opinion about the situation. You know what I mean?
So these are pictures of the Rockefeller Center in New York. And this is the tree lighting ceremony where this massive protest, pro-Palestinian protest, I would think it's called, broke out. And there was some violence that happened. Yeah. There were some fires that were set. There were some things that happened there. And so maybe Governor Newsom is looking at this and thinking it doesn't want it happening, here, or that he has some type of duty to protect people to say, if that happened there, then we can't let that happen here because safety is at risk. So in that regard, I get it.
Burgundy Cat says protesting and storming the Capitol are two different things. Why are we acting like protesting is bad? Remember civil rights protests.
It's not bad.
I don't think that people see protesting and the storming of the Capitol. I do. I mean, I think that there's a difference, but I think the people that went to January 6th, remember? We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution. I don't think that I think there's a significant portion of people that arrived at January 6th and were like, that's the people's house. We're allowed to go in there. That's the argument that a lot of them made, right?
Mm-hmm. If you were, Brian says, wow, Kim, I know that if you were Jewish with relatives murdered in the Holocaust, your commitment would not be to stand with the values of free speech, but with the right of Jews to live without fear. I want people to live without fear. I want people to live in harmony and safety. But if you start limiting free speech in America, then does it become like any other communist country? You see, Brian, where we might have a problem with that.
Right.
I don't want people that are Jewish to live in fear.
No.
I have people that are friends that are Jewish and relatives that are Jewish. I would never want anyone to live in fear. But I don't think you can limit free speech. I don't know, Brian. I'm torn because I don't want you to think I don't care about that because I do.
Of course you do. Of course you do. And again, it's not, it's balancing the laws, the constitutional rights of the United States versus obviously, like the president of Harvard was saying, I personally believe that's abhorrent. I personally do not think that people should say that in the middle of the college campus, but then there's rules and laws. And what do you do there? I mean, what's also interesting is Stefanik and others probably have no problem with Milo Yiannopoulos and other people going on campus and saying what other people think are abhorrent things,
right?
Because of free speech. That's the crux. Kim C says, sad is Hamas knew Israel would respond like this to the October attacks. Yes, I from John Rothman to other people that are better experts than me. Look, Hamas is in the middle of Palestine, knowing that Israel is coming after them because they know it's going to look extremely bad for how Israel is responding because innocent people are dying. There is zero way you can take out Hamas, at least at this point, without taking out innocent people. And they knew that. They knew that. And look how much support. I mean, obviously people are supporting the innocent Palestinian lives, but you're also then not allowing Israel to take out Hamas. It's tragic. RJ says a good friend, Jewish, whose mom lives in Israel, said, what happened on October 7th broke my heart. The Israeli response cracked my soul. I keep that in mind whenever speaking of the current situation. Exactly. I mean, I understand what Hamas did on October 7th, but I also agree that they knew that Israel would respond so harshly. And maybe they were willing to make that, and I'm, again, not an expert, make that sacrifice of, obviously they're going to face retaliation with the hope that, the world will turn against Israel, which we're seeing a lot with these pro-Palestinian, which is not, you can stand with the Palestinian people and be against Hamas. They're not the same. No. They're not the same. It's just so freaking complicated and I hate it. I really, really hate it.
And I have people sending me pictures of the horror in Gaza, and it's awful. Yeah. And you want to look at the each situation and go, God, that's horrible, that's awful. And I'm feeling so terrible for people that are suffering there. But at the same time, I don't know. It's so hard. This is so hard.
I know.
Because you want to say, well, look at this story then of this, young girl that was being held against her will and was kidnapped and held hostage. And what about her? And so it's this case about, well, what about this person? And what about this person? And which is worse? Yeah. It's all horrible. It's all horrible.
It is. It's awful. War is awful. Somebody I think earlier had said, the military complex, that's who wins, right? That's who wins. Exactly. So,
and I will say that, I feel like I don't want anyone to walk away from this thinking that I'm somehow anti-Semitic or that I have a bias against people that are Jewish. My daughter is named after her Jewish grandmother. I'll just say that. So, right. I mean, and as John Rothman once told me, it doesn't matter whether your children are a quarter Jewish or all Jewish. It wouldn't have mattered to the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
So these are things I understand, but I also value the tenets of America and I value free speech. How you balance that, I don't know. Yeah. But I don't want you to think that I don't care. I really don't, Brian. I don't want that at all.
I think that that's just the perfect way to end this segment is that we do care. And and this is what I say. I just want to listen. I want to listen to people and learn. And I think that a lot of us are having a crash course in these types of relations, especially the younger generation, So again, our hearts go out to everybody. And with Hanukkah coming, our hearts go out to the entire Jewish community. Okay, we're going to do some headlines. We have to switch gears. I do want to talk a little bit about issues closer to home. So San Francisco facing very big budget cuts. We knew that. But apparently the reparations office in San Francisco, that's going to be put on hold because of the budget cuts. And they want to give more power while all these budget cuts are happening, while San Francisco is facing kind of this, come to Jesus moment about what the hell they're going to do with the city, with crime and all that kind of stuff. They want to give Mayor Breed more power. How do you feel about a strong mayor? You know, kind of this idea of she should be able to do X, Y, and Z without having to go through a million freaking committees. And how would you feel if it was Breed that did it, or whatever, pardon me, whatever mayor is the mayor of your city, right? Like, do you see the mayor as the top dog, or should there be more of a checks and balance, maybe the city manager, you know, kind of working with all of these committees? And then, you know, when we're talking about crime and the problems, did you see what's happening in Oakland with its 911 dispatchers? And it's a bit rich for people to say, oh my God, you call 911 and no one answers. People were answering the calls to be 911 dispatchers, and they were being ignored. And so what is going on there? We'll talk about all of that. Please, guys, though, before we go to headlines, click the thumbs up button. Show your support for the show. We really, really do appreciate it. And here's some headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Well, let's dig right into it. Israel says it believes that Hamas leaders are being housed in the heart of southern Gaza's main city. So, Israeli forces are operating in the area, but the UN says the ground invasion is leading to an increasingly apocalyptic situation for Palestinians. The war is in its 61st day after Hamas launched the attack October 7th. The National Weather Service says floodwaters in the Pacific Northwest may have resulted in at least 2 deaths. What's being called an atmospheric river has produced 8 inches of rain over 3 days in portions of Oregon and Northern California. A heavy rain is being forecast to continue into later tonight. The former Speaker of the House will soon become a former congressman. Sayonara, sucker.
Bye. Don't let the door hit you all the way out, Kevin.
Kevin McCarthy announcing in a Wall Street Journal op-ed that he is resigning from Congress effective at the end of the year. McCarthy became the first House Speaker to be ousted from the position during a term in Congress. 4 candidates, none of whom are named Trump, will take the stage tonight for the 4th Republican presidential debate. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former South Carolina Governor and UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy will face off against each other at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. The debate starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. It will be live streamed on the subscription-based TV network News Nation and news channels carrying News Nation.
Oh, then I'm definitely not watching it.
No?
I have zero desire to listen to them. I mean, honestly, what are they going to say that hasn't already been said in the last 4 debates? Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, if one of them would come out and say, if Trump's the nominee, I will not vote for him, that would be awesome. I know Christie, I think, has said that. Although, did he raise his hand the last time he ended up raising his hand? I'm feeling like he might have. But they're all no backbone, whatever. And I'm not voting for a Republican presidential nominee anyway. So no thanks. Bye.
And we kind of have heard what they've had to say.
Exactly.
I mean,
I don't know why they're having all these debates still. I really don't.
I guess even you could argue that people need to hear, people need to know, people haven't made up their mind yet about, what's happening. And so you have to go through the process of showcasing who you are.
Yeah. And I guess I would listen a little closer to Nikki Haley. She seems to be the one that most people are saying could, if Trump did not, become the nominee, could be. She's scary. I don't like her. But yeah, so maybe in that instance, I'll just wait for the recap tomorrow. That's it.
The arraignment is scheduled tomorrow for the off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot accused of trying to crash a plane carrying more than 80 people in October.
This blows my mind.
A grand jury has indicted 44-year-old Joseph David Emerson on 83 counts of recklessly endangering another person and 1 count of endangering an aircraft. Now, Emerson was riding in the cockpit jump seat on a flight from Everett, Washington to San Francisco when he allegedly tried to shut down the jet's engines by activating the fire suppression system to cut off the fuel engine. So here's the difference. He was going to be charged with attempted murder for those 80 people, right?
Right.
And instead, Now it's being downgraded, and he's being charged with 83 counts of recklessly endangering another person instead of attempted murder.
I was shocked by this change. And the reason why, and again, I don't necessarily want to bring race into it, but I just feel like white dude says, sorry, I was on mushrooms a couple days ago and I'm depressed. And I almost killed all these people. Like he did. If they didn't jump in, right? I mean, I guess the only thing I could think of is that this grand jury was listening to the pilots who were saying, like, the guy was saying, like, get a hold of me, restrain me. There's something wrong with me. Like maybe that, but that just tells me the guy was enough in his right mind. If he's saying those sorts, I don't know. I don't like it. I think the guy should be held accountable. If I was on that freaking plane, no way. Like, I don't know. And again, I was just talking about criminal justice reform yesterday. I mean, is it fair? Like, should we give the guy a chance? There's nothing in his background that made him, seem like he was going to do this. But how many other people are given that thoughtfulness, right? Like, I don't know. It blows my mind, though. What does it carry? Is it 20 years? Do we know? 20 years in prison. The one charge could bring 20 years in prison. But apparently, Emerson's lawyers told ABC7 Dan Noyes they're crafting a release plan and expect him to be home with his family by the end of the week. I mean, that blows my mind. You almost took down a plane. Why?
No.
Why?
I mean, maybe they're because of the mental illness factor, and maybe, I don't know, not guilty by reason of insanity. That there'll be a trial. Something will happen there.
I mean, I'm not saying, and I know maybe I'm sounding a little heartless. Like, obviously he was not in his right mind, but there's a lot of people that aren't in their right mind that still face the full weight of the law when they commit crimes. And I don't know, but okay.
They don't try to take down a plane, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know who this is? Norman Lear.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So Norman Lear has passed away at the age of 101.
Wow.
He died at his home in Los Angeles of natural causes. He's best known for creating 1970s sitcoms All in the Family and Maude, among many, many others.
Yeah. He's often mentioned in a lot of, people that make TV shows and in Hollywood and things like that. So yeah, 101. That's a long life.
And as you mentioned, Taylor Swift is
Time
Magazine's Person of the Year. The pop star was chosen over 8 other finalists, including King Charles III and Barbie. The magazine awards the title to the individual, the group, or the concept that has the most influence on the world throughout the previous year.
Yeah, she. So there's. I have another. I showed these earlier. There's another cover. There's another. That's read the article though, Kim. I was talking about it at the start of the show. Really good article. And she was also named People's Most Intriguing Person of the Year. So she is definitely
she's having a good year.
Oh, yeah. Damn straight. She's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she's dating Travis Kelce.
Got a new boyfriend.
She's not a good year.
Person of the Year. Things are going well for Taylor Swift land.
Absolutely. Exactly.
This report is crowdfunded, which means we do rely on you. Please find us at theNikkiMedoroShow.com, theNikkiMedoroShow.com for the Patreon, the PayPal link, and a lot more to see there as well. In addition, the super chats and super stickers are open. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, so let's talk about San Francisco. Some big news coming out of Mayor Breed having to make these mid-year budget cuts, which we knew were coming. This shouldn't be a surprise. Let's see. The cost cutting, not unexpected. Breed has requested department heads propose 3% mid-year budget cuts in October. That's a small percentage, of course, of the $14.6 billion budget, which just blows my mind. $14.6 billion budget for the city of San Francisco. Let's see. The plurality of the $75 million in savings comes from new revenues that will cover expenses previously paid for by the general fund. The city will cancel nearly $23 million in planned spending, including for things like the city's reparations committee. Now, the committee had tried to, the Office of Reparations, not committee, the Office of Reparations is, I guess, on hold because of this, which even the people behind it were like, we understand it's a new thing. So they're basically cutting anything new to fund the services that have already been offered. But these are the things that are coming, and these are the things that are on Mayor Breed's kind of resume, as they say. Well, now there is an advocacy group that is pushing for a reform of the city charter. Together SF is out, and they want to put a reform plan on the 2024 ballot. And here's a little bit of information of what they actually want to do, which is mainly to give Mayor Breed, a lot more power. And I want you to tell me what you think about that.
Most voters view the mayor as the CEO of the city.
More and more people seem to be frustrated with the direction of San Francisco and what's happening when it comes to problems such as the fentanyl crisis, homelessness, crime, and housing. A civic engagement group called Together SF Action says the change the city needs starts with amending the city charter.
The powers of the office of the mayor have been whittled down by mostly politically driven measures. This has resulted in no one being in charge and no one for voters to clearly hold accountable.
Together SF Action proposes a reform package. The 2 charter amendments include cutting the number of city boards, commissions, and advisory bodies by half.
That cuts the number of commissions down from 130 to 65.
I love empowering the office of the mayor to hire and remove department heads without commission approval.
These 2 measures provide clear authority over who's in charge in San Francisco government so that voters can get beyond the endless finger pointing that we've been stuck in now and be able to hold elected officials accountable.
Some business owners and San Francisco residents back the proposed changes.
If you want to go find an answer to something related to homelessness, for instance, there are more than 4 commissions that say they're responsible for it.
Bill Maggs believes streamlining government will be a big help.
Why in the world do we need 130 commissions? Why do 1,200 people, you need to be able to, share power with the rest of the city government?
Max Young owns several businesses, including the Bamboo Hut on Broadway. He used to own Mr. Smith's Bar in the mid-market area, too.
My business on 7th and Stevenson was directly impacted by drug dealers taking over my corner, and I had to shut it down in 2019. And I'm still unable to open.
Young hopes the charter amendments will help make San Francisco streets safer.
This holds people accountable. We need the mayor to be accountable. We need our leaders to be accountable. Right now, if the mayor can't hire and fire her leaders, we've got a problem.
Next month, Together SF Action will start gathering signatures to qualify for the November ballot. Now,
okay, so what do you guys think of that? I mean, I personally think it is a good idea. I think that, and this is my main reason, I agree with that first line. When people hear, I am the mayor of San Francisco, or I am the mayor of San Jose, you automatically think that that is the person that is in charge, but that's not always the case. Like here in San Jose, we have the city manager. Like they're not and yet they run and they're held accountable, like in the news and the media when things go wrong, as if they are the only person making the decisions, and that's not the case. And so I like the idea. Well, one, I love the idea of cutting commissions and all of these boards and things like that. They're going to cut the number of city boards, commissions, and advisories by half. Now, the concern that I do have, of course, is the mayor would be able to hire and remove department heads without any sort of commission approval. You better really like your mayor that you elect, because there's going to be consequences on how certain commissions or boards or whatever are run, or departments are run. And if they don't fall in line with the mayor's vision, then they're out. So I can understand the concern there, but there's way too much red tape in a city like San Francisco. Think about this. Think about all those paychecks. And I'm not trying to promote people losing their jobs or whatever. But do we need 4 different departments or commissions handling one issue? All they're going to be like, oh, that's not mine. You have to contact that person. You can see, and the time delays, nothing gets done. And that's what I think is the real problem in San Francisco, is things don't get done because everyone's passing it off to somebody else because there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
But let me play devil's advocate.
Okay.
If you get rid of all these commissions and all these people, then you have fewer voices. And so you have fewer opinions, you have fewer, you have a much less input into what's happening in San Francisco. So you have a more, mayor-centric, where one person is calling the shots and making everything with the way they want it to be. You still have a board of supervisors, of course. I realize that. But if you take away committee positions, then you have less voices. There's fewer voices and fewer people investigating things, So say you have an arts commission and they bring up, should we have this statue in the city on a certain corner at a certain place? And so then there's people actually looking into this. There's people studying it. There's people that have opinions on it. There's people looking into the history of it. I just don't know if then everything gets done in the way it needs to get done if you start cutting like that.
But I think that maybe the pendulum swung too far to having too many voices, right? I think there needs to be a correction, right? I hear what you're saying, like, San Francisco. So here's the thing. I was just about to say San Francisco is a big city, which it's not, geographically, but
Right.
population and things like that. But I also think that it's a very big government because we've made it that way. Now, let's take something like homelessness. Now, while that is just one area where I think there's way too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many people trying to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I think a lot of them agree with each other, right? I don't think that we're losing a voice by reducing the number of people on these certain commissions and in these certain departments. I think that if you have to go, if the tree, like phone trees, if you got to be calling 50 different people to get one friggin' answer for something, that is not efficient. And so I think somebody was right here, Louise, why she sucks, talking about Mayor Breed, filled with horrible ideas like the vertical UC campus in the middle of a high crime, high homeless epicenter and her awesome free drug Disneyland. If you do it, enjoy your decline, SF. Now, I think that your concerns are valid, Louise, I do. But I would also say, if the situation is Mayor Breed wants to do something about it, but she has to go through X committee and Y committee and this person and that person just to have an idea, ignored, right? But the buck stops with her. Like, we blame her. You didn't get anything done about this. Well, the way the system is set up, and I'm not defending her. I'm not saying that she's perfect. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if I'm going to get the blame, then I want to make the decision. I don't want to have 50 people behind me that are hidden because it's all these commissions and all these department heads and everything. And yet everyone's blaming me when I have to go through that nonsense to get anything done. So that's why I'm kind of liking this idea, is then there'll be more of a consequence for the CEO/mayor of the city. Yeah. Who you elect really means who's running the city. And I think that that's a good thing, because I do think that that's how people naturally see it.
Maria writes that corruption in San Francisco has always been a problem. And if people get more power, I think it may lead to greater corruption.
Or, and that could be very, very true. And I hear you. Or corruption can happen in all these departments. So the more departments, the more department heads, the more people that want to be corrupted or that want to get paybacks. Or, look at Nuru and all those sorts of people, right? I mean, you give a lot of people power, they're all going to want a little piece of the pie for themselves too, Randy, yeah, you don't need 4 commissions in San Francisco, each indicating they're in charge of homelessness in San Francisco. Exactly. Now, is the job big? Yes. But have a department. Have a department where things just funnel up to the top. We need to make things more efficient in San Francisco because nothing seems to get done. Look at the fact that they wanted to do the homeless sweeps, where they wanted to tell people, like, look, we have a place for you. You can't say no, right? How many different organizations came out and were against it or for it? And like, wait a minute, we all agree that we don't want these encampments here. Why can it not be easier to move these people along, get them into places? Why is it so hard that if we have SROs to make sure that they're up to code and people aren't just dropped there with no services? Why? Because somebody's probably thinking that person's watching them and that person's watching them and nobody's watching them. And then all of the money is being dispersed among all these different departments, which is wasteful. It's wasteful. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't live in San Francisco, right? So, but I think something like this is a good idea. And my simple answer is simply because you can more clearly place the blame and give the compliment to who's ever mayor because they do have the power, right? So you should think more about something like that and hold them accountable. Yeah, I just do. Now, let's go across the bay. And this is another thing that just really pisses me off. Do you ever I get these, you get spammed with job offers and things like that. I literally just looked at one the other day. Santa Clara County, hiring for 911 dispatchers, a job I could never do. I'd probably end up crying every single day of my life. I don't think I would be able to handle the stress of answering 911 calls with people screaming and crying and literally terrible moments of their lives without my mental health like just going away. But I was reading just the description of it, and it's a decent paying job. I mean, the hours likely suck because you have to work weekends, long hours, and things like that. But one of the narratives in Oakland has been, we don't have enough 911 dispatchers. We don't have anyone answering the phone. You call, it rings, it rings, it rings, it rings, it rings. Mayor Sheng Tao even said, I called 911 just like last week or the week before. I called 911 and no one answered my call. I got a busy signal or I got whatever. Well, apparently.
Can you imagine? In some cases, it's the worst moment of your life, and you have to, they're like, there's no one to answer your call right now.
Oh, I'd be so devastated. My kid's in danger. I am in danger. I need a cop or the ambulance or something like that. Well, apparently, in Oakland, this is a problem of their own friggin' making. Here's a little report from NBC Bay Area.
Months now, our investigative unit has been reporting on the city's dangerously long response times. The city has said staffing is largely to blame. Well, we've now learned the city had plenty of people applying for the open jobs, but no one was reviewing those applications. Earlier this year, we learned Oakland has the worst emergency response times of any city or county in the entire state. After our investigations and 2 grand jury reports, Oakland City Council member Janani Ramachandran did a deep dive on the city's 911 dispatcher hiring practices. She tells us from April 2022 to April 2023, the city's HR department failed to process dispatcher applications for an entire year.
What the hell?
As
wow.
She says open dispatcher positions were left vacant as the city's emergency response continued to fail.
The fact that almost 1,000 applicants never had the opportunity to even progress forward in the hiring process, that their applications for the most part were not processed, and that they never even got a response from the city, that aspect really shocked me.
A lot of people. And joining us now is investigative reporter Candace Wynn. Candace, not one application processed for an entire year. How does this even happen?
Yeah, I read a staff report recently. The people in charge of processing those applications had left the city. We don't know why they left, but we're hearing that's why those job applications were not reviewed. There was no one there to review them. And on top of that, we found the HR department in Oakland still is without an HR director right now. Another crucial role the city is trying to fill.
You know, you've been covering this for quite some time now. Talk to us about how bad these 911 response times are in Oakland.
Yeah, they're actually worse than what we initially reported over the summer. I told you that according to state data, Oakland's average 911 answering time was about a minute, 4 times the 15-second state standard. But since then, callers have been telling that council member that they have been waiting on 911 10, 15, and even more than 20 minutes for a
If you're choking, if your kid is like in a pool needing CPR,
That's
was
inept.
shocked.
That is absolutely inept.
That is, you want to talk about someone who's saying Tao said it won't happen again. If I was in Oakland, I would be so friggin' pissed at Sheng Tao. And I know that obviously this is a problem that started before she was even mayor. Okay, I'm not saying that it's all her, but are you friggin' kidding me? That there's no HR director for the city of Oakland? That you're seeing your city in the news with terrible 911 response times, and nobody walked their ass over there and said, well, how many applicants are we getting? How is nobody in a year looked at an application and nobody knew that?
Who put the ad up? Who's asking for applications? Is it just a standard one that's always up there?
I bet it's like, the city jobs, department. I don't know. Again, going back to this idea of strong mayor, reducing departments, this is what happens. Everyone thinks someone else is taking care of it. And nobody is using their common friggin' sense and being like, isn't it odd? Isn't it odd that we have this major problem, like life and death problem, that's giving us terrible headlines and no one's applying? Like, are you serious? Are you serious? And that's why sometimes the conspiracy mind of me, I'm being honest, Kim, I'm like, is this, a response to the defund the police? Like, is there some coordinated, nefarious effort to undermine public safety in cities that we're kind of promoting, even though it was not an accurate assessment of what we were calling for, the whole defunding of law enforcement or reforming criminal justice. Because who is in charge of this? Who is letting these major cities fall and letting something like this happen? And who's responsible? Who do you point the finger to except the mayor? And that, again, brings me to London Breed and this whole entire topic, which is they should be on the line. And when you have so many departments, it dilutes the responsibility that should fall at the feet of, I'm sorry, one person. It should.
Do you think also, though, instead of it being a nefarious situation, that it's ineptitude and it's, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and that's inexperience.
Stupid.
Right? That someone else, there are people that may have retired that, now no one knows what's going on. Now no one knows what's happening. And so how do you get these systems back in place where the basics get done no matter who's in power, no matter who's mayor? There's going to be a hiring manager who's overseeing all this, right?
Yeah. I mean, in Square's bringing it up, the whole missing out on the homeless grants or the retail theft grants, pardon me. I think yesterday or the day before, there was a whole laundry list of how that happened. And again, it's the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing and power outages and all kinds of freaking nonsense. If I lived in Oakland, I would be up in arms about something like this. Square phoned it in from the Black Cat. I know. Well, that's Breed. But yeah, it's so frustrating. And my heart does go out to people that live in this area because they're tired of the crime. They're tired of seeing the negative headlines surrounding their city that I'm sure many people love. I mean, we have colleagues that have lived in Oakland and still live in Oakland. I wouldn't want my city to be known for these sorts of things. But then to learn that the city hasn't even hired or looked at applications for a position in which we are desperate to fill is ridiculous. Yeah, never attribute to evil what can be attributed to incompetence, Nikki. Exactly. You're absolutely right. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, if you're looking for a job, Oakland needs 911 dispatchers, but if your application doesn't get responded to, maybe make some follow-up calls because apparently there's nobody handling.
Well, who would you call?
Exactly. Can I handle HR? They don't have an HR director.
There's nobody to call. There's no one there at the other end of the line.
How do we get to this point? I mean, we are the Bay Area. There is so much talent. There's also so much hurt. Like, I don't feel it is a lack of people that care about their communities, want to help with public safety, want to, feel the call to go into this sort of field. It is on the other hand, it's the administrative end that is totally incompetent. And we need to completely fix that. It's just infuriating. I swear to God. And then, and then we see crimes like, and I know that wasn't in Oakland, but like the Christmas tree theft and the Santa theft. Somebody stole the Santa off some families. What are you talking? Oh, then did you see this one? Oh, did you see this story? I have the picture. I'm so glad I have time to bring this up before the end of the show. Did you see that they stole Murray? Thank God they got the dog back.
That's a cute dog.
Murray, a Bernedoodle puppy, was stolen along with a pet walking van in San Francisco's Nob Hill neighborhood. Murray has been found safe, so that's the good news. The dog walking company says a walker around 9:25 in the morning stepped away for a moment to pick up another dog, leaving the 6-month-old Murray inside the van at California and Hyde Streets. When the dog walker comes out, he sees a stranger in the driver's seat taken off in the van.
No.
Yeah. So now apparently they've been Murray, this cute dog. Looks like he should be part of a cartoon. Has been found safe. But again, it's crazy. I don't know. It's just crazy. Crime, we talked about this yesterday. What people think is okay to steal. It's just, I was out doing the lights with my husband yesterday afternoon, and it went through my mind, like, is someone going to steal? We don't have any pop-ups or anything. I don't think, what are they going to steal? But it's crappy. It's crappy right now, and I want something to be done about it, and it doesn't feel like anybody is doing anything about it, and it sucks, and it really, really sucks, and it's the holiday season, damn it, and we should be kind to one another, and it just seems like we're just devolving into this. I don't care about anybody but what I want, and I'm going to take it if I don't have it. You should like the show right now, Angel. Click that thumbs up button. Are you waiting for me to say that?
Thank you for clicking like.
Thank you for
I'm
clicking
looking
like.
up the theft of Santa, and you're right.
Yes.
It happened in Antioch.
It's so sad.
They have surveillance video of someone
A lot
getting
of
out of a
surveillance
Chevy
video.
Impala on Saturday night, jogging up a driveway, and the guy grabs a life-size Santa from the front porch, carries it down
Yeah.
the driveway, opens up the trunk, throws it in, and drives away.
Yeah, there's a Santa. It's a big one like that one. That one looks kind of fancy. The other one's just a little more plasticky looking, but it's in front of this house that I drive past all the time, and
my
every day I'm like,
God.
someone's gonna steal the Santa.
They move fast, too.
Yes.
Wow.
No heartless souls. You're cursed. I'm just telling you, all these thieves you will never have in this life. You will always have things taken from you. I truly, truly believe in that kind of karma.
Our friend Jennifer Jones-Lee, when she lived in Petaluma, she doesn't anymore, but she had a giant inflatable Snoopy in the old plane.
Yeah.
Like Christmas themed on her front lawn, and somebody took it.
Aw.
Yeah. And she said it was her favorite Christmas decoration. She loved that Snoopy, the Christmas Snoopy, and somebody came and she was devastated. She's like, I can't believe I had that up and someone came and took it away.
I've had things. Well, let's see. So when I lived in Sacramento, I lived in South Sacramento for a little bit with my husband and our dog, and we love gnomes. We're like one of those families, and we had these like ceramic, and they were pretty big. We had 2 of them in our front yard, just like in the little planter box area. And I'll never forget. I came home from work and I just walked in, and there's just these dirt circles, and it took me a while. I was like,
"Where's the gnomes?"
Was it? Where the no? And there's this stupid part of it. Like, did they walk away? I'm like looking for them. Like,
they're on the run.
No.
And
I remember I called my husband. I'm like, somebody stole our friggin' gnomes. And then my parents, several years ago, but they had a Niner flag in front of their house, and somebody stole their Niner flag. I think it was a Niner flag. The audacity. And again, like I was saying yesterday, this mentality of people saying, I'm not going to pay for it. I'm just going to take it because I want it. Screw you. And twice on Sunday. Like, I mean, it's just, I don't get it. I don't understand people that take, especially off people's front porches. Like, that's not yours. Like, I can understand, not really, but I guess if you found a wallet with a ton of money in it, right? I guess that's kind of a moral thing, right? Do you return it? Do you try to find the person? I personally would. But to literally make a conscious choice, I'm driving by, I see a pretty cool Santa on somebody's front porch, and I'm like, you know what? I want that to be mine. I don't care. And the fact that some of these people have really nice friggin' cars, so it's not like you're poor. Go buy your own damn Santa.
I mean, perhaps you could make the argument, well, they left it outside. They don't want it.
Screw you. They're terrible. Yeah. So look at this guy. Covering his face because he knows he's a criminal. You're cursed. Just pick it up. I take it. I get. And Merry Christmas to you, asshat. Yeah. There you go.
I mean, really. And off they go. And that's that. And that's all it took.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a little girl. She's so devastated that the Santa left.
It was a really cool Santa, I have to say.
It is really, really cool. But it's not yours.
No.
Buy your own. If you like it, then go save up and buy your own damn Santa. Yeah. Nick says, I felt the same way when someone stole my mountain bike out of my garage.
Oh.
Out of my garage, I'd be so upset about. We had that actually happen at our old place. No, I'm going to be completely honest. I wasn't as devastated as my husband was. I was just more violated more than anything.
Yeah.
But somebody went in our backyard and stole a bunch of my husband's trash bicycles. Out of our backyard, like literally stole them, and stole a lot. So we lived, I used to tell you guys, we used to live behind a homeless encampment was behind our fence. And we think that somebody just hopped the fence and threw a bunch of the bikes over the fence and stole them. And my husband was devastated. Although it gave him I need to replace those trash bicycles. But no, I felt violated. Somebody was in my backyard stealing, even though things I didn't want, but they belonged to my husband. I was very upset about it. Jim says, save your Amazon boxes throughout the year and then fill them with garbage and leave them on your porch. Yeah, that's a good idea. I haven't bought anything off of Amazon in a while, but using the lockers is the number one thing you should do. I'm a huge proponent, and they're everywhere now. Whole Foods, Kohl's, a lot of these stores that you pass by, Office Max, I think does it. There's so many stores nowadays that have the Amazon lockers. Just have it sent there. And there's probably a ton by your house or any sort of delivery. I know not everybody wants to pay for a P.O. box or something like that, but don't give these bandits, any sort of, excuse to come up to your porch. Ms. Organic says an older gentleman walked away from an ATM in front of me the other day with his $100 hanging out of it. I told him he might need that. See, that's what you do. You help people, damn it.
That's all it takes. Yeah.
Eric says my storage space, someone took bolt cutters, cut the locks off half the unit, stole a bunch of stuff out of mine and everyone else's. See, that sucks. Like, again, I understand. I mean, I don't, but I get like, oh my God, look, everybody just left their stuff here. I could just go in there and steal it. But that's just, you have no morals. That's awful. Grady says, I have my 18-foot skeleton as Santa. I dare someone to try and to get it. It also has an Apple tag in it. Also, camera on the street to get the license plate. That's what I was also thinking. Those tiles or the Apple tags or whatever, like hide it somewhere in there, maybe even paint over it so it like blends in.
But then how much are you going to go through to get it
back?
I
would hop in my friggin' car and I'd call what if the cops.
These are criminals and thieves and people of low moral character. So what if then it becomes some type of fight or physical violence over a Christmas decoration?
What if it's someone in your neighborhood? How would you feel? Because that a lot of people have similar decorations. It's hard to prove like that's my inflatable Snoopy when there's another. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine if you're like, that's mine, and they're like, that's not mine, I bought it, and then you could find the tag on it, and you're like, that's mine, mofo. That's mine. I'd be so mad. You know me, Kim. I would be hopping in my car. My husband would probably have to hold me back.
And then here comes, I see the headline. News people do this. San Jose mother dies in gunfire over Santa. Yeah, exactly. No,
it's the point. It is. It's the. You have to like take a stand. They depend on us not taking a stand, Kim. I don't get all hot and bothered, but damn it, it's not okay. It's not okay.
Our new normal is don't spend a lot of money on your outside decor because it could be, walking away.
Sucks. That's
so you just have to
way to live.
You have to cheap out on it. I think I mentioned my mom had something stolen from her yard. She had one of those projectors thing that, projects snowflakes onto the front of your house. And it was in a tree and someone just came and took it away.
Yeah, And Floyd, you can never leave anything out unlocked and you get a lot of people that just don't care. Exactly. I think we need more people that do care. Absolutely. And Natalie makes a good point. She's like, I know people whose iPhone was stolen. They tracked the phone to the thief's house and the cops would not help or even knock on the door to ask for it back. I get that, but no. I just read a story yesterday. A woman, this isn't exactly the same thing. She was walking and like 7 teenagers stole something from her. And as they were stealing something from her, one of the teens lost their headphones. And she said that they were going to she says, I'll break these if you don't give me back my stuff. And so they did. I'm like, I don't know how expensive those headphones were, but yeah, it's just, it sucks. Vilma says, once a long time ago, we got burglarized. We had 2 TVs. One had no picture and sound. The other had a picture. They took both and we all had a good laugh. I'd be like, thanks. I didn't want to make that dump trip anyway.
Yeah.
And Randy says, yeah, I'm correct. The assumption by people that are stealing is that there are no repercussions. Yeah. And that's why when I was at that Big Lots and the person was stealing, I said, shame on you. I see you. I'm not going to, I'm not going to physically stop you because, again, I'm not that, out of my mind because I do understand. But shame. I want to do the whole shaming. Public shaming needs to happen to these friggin' people. Andrew says, I have this awesome Halloween witch. I chain it to the porch, but I still worry. I love the AirTag idea. Yeah, I don't have anything of value like that in front of my house. But if I spent a lot of money on something that doesn't, fit inside, I would totally put an AirTag. I don't care. I don't care at all. Okay, I'm ending the show a little bit early. I have to go to an eye appointment. I might have to get glasses for you people to see people. So I'm going to go. My appointment's at 11:15 and it's at the hospital. So I have to get going. So just a few minutes early.
A regular eye check?
No, there's something wrong with my vision. I
Is it blurry?
See.
Are you looking at your phone too much?
You guys can, I mentioned this yesterday and people were saying you stare at the computer too much. I'm like closing my eyes. This is the main thing that I'm concerned about. If I look at a bright light, for instance, it takes an extremely long amount of time for my eyes to retract and be able to not be blinded by it anymore. So I'm concerned. We have eye problems in my family. And so I don't know. I mean, I might need glasses. I'm getting it checked out. So I'll keep you guys posted tomorrow. We have a fun show tomorrow, and then of course Fridays. I will be gone on Friday. Kim will be here. John Rothman, though, will be talking politics. So that's going to be great. Tim Sika's there. There's a lot of movies and streaming. I have some gossip news I did not get to today. Oh, and I love this gossip news. So that's a good tease for you. I feel like, in high school when you have a big group of friends and then they all start dating each other. I kind of feel like this gossip story kind of fits into that realm. So we'll discuss that. I want to lighten things up as we head towards the end of the show. Also, we'll talk about, today, I do want to mention this. If you have any students in your life, college students on Amazon Prime, $25 flights for the holidays. Amazon Prime student members can book $25 flights for the holidays, but Google it now. If you have a kid, I forgot to mention it. I just saw it on my rundown. It's only, I think, 1,000 tickets they sell a day. So if you want to take advantage of it, look up Amazon Prime student flights, and hopefully you could do that. I meant to mention that earlier.
You have to prove you're a college student in some way?
I'm sure you have to do something. I think you have to sign up as an Amazon Prime student. They have this whole process to do that. And so I think that when you do that, then you can get the tickets. Doug says, Nikki, when you get your glasses, you'll feel like a new person. You'll want to give your eye doctor candy and flowers. Louise, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I also want to say thank you to Vicky with a $10 donation, and thanks for the compliment. Yeah. Doug with a $5 donation, Lady Beatrice with a $5 donation, and Harry with a $5 donation as well. Please go to thenikkimedoroshow.com, guys. Sign up to be a Medorable. We really, really appreciate it, and we need it because we're 100% crowdfunded. All right, we'll talk tomorrow. Love ya. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.